Like I'm not gonna communicate if I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But also, I can think about when I was a teenager, and I was thinking about my worst thing I could ever think about doing is speaking in public, or even like communicating with strangers.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of like I'm very comfortable and enjoy communicating with people, but it's taken a lifetime of kind of everything affects me. I can't compare myself to other people. I don't know exactly how other people think, but it seems that everything affects me very intensely when I talk to someone walking along the table, and they're saying something that's meaningful to them. I really feel it, and it's just human communication is super powerful, and it affects me. And sometimes it's just it's too much. But as a sometimes sensitive person, I got to be out there in the world and like deal with the challenges that I have just from my background and all that I've seen, and get out there and be with people, and I need to do that for my own mental health.
Yeah. Jesse, you came on. How long ago did you come on into this project, or how far into it had you come into it?
I came on January 2019.
So relatively later on in the process. How has it been having to manage these two personalities here, kind of Werner Herzog, Klaus Kinski style right here,
I mean, it was a project of a lifetime.
Yeah.
When I first started it, I realized that it was really unique in terms of just the process.
Yeah.
And I first started working with Patrick, and then eventually started communicating with Jim, and we talked more about ideas and things like that.
Had you guys did you have a vision? Did they have a vision before they came to you with it? Like, or was it like, here's all this footage that we've been collecting. How do we make this a story or a narrative? What are we looking to pull out of this?
Yeah, Patrick basically just gave me the footage and said, watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where we really started. And there was a couple other editors before, and I watched those films. I think there was one cut and then another one. And I just decided to start over.
You're a genius, by the way.
Tell me, like, what happened with like the other editors, and then and then that led you to Jesse, basically, and what sets his cut apart from those other ones?
Yeah, just going through the process of filming and documenting Jim, and like getting additional info, and like kind of change the face of the film. So we were kind of in a slump, and for a while we kind of stopped. We submitted the film to a couple of festivals, like the early cut, the rough cut, and I wasn't really 100% happy with it. And through a friend of mine, he knew Jess, and he's like, "Man, I know this insane editor in New York. It's like, can we just like?"
It's like a cat on acid, right?
Yeah.
We talked about last night.
If we bring in this cat on acid, like he's amazingly talented, and he can like see through all that huge amount of material that you have, and then communicating with Jess and getting on the first phone call with him. It was like a 2-hour phone call, and I knew right off the bat, like, this is our guy. This is the editor like we've been looking for, and I just felt really good about it. And then, yeah, just working with him over the next couple of years was like a pure joy. And like, even though we don't see each other all the time, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen him like since like Santa Barbara, and like a year ago or something like that.
Yeah, year and a half.
Yeah. But we grew like really close together, just working together all the time, And I just seen him for the first time in a year and a half, but I felt like I was hanging out with him the whole time.
Yeah, I
Still
mean,
through the process.
Yeah.
we were on the phone every day.
Right.
God.
But I
The
mean,
patience level, Jess. Serious.
that's a
No,
two-way.
I'm
That's a
kidding.
two-way street. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a joy all the time either. You know what I mean? So everybody believes in each other. I
Yeah.
mean, and I felt that. So, I mean, I think the first cut I did, maybe I scheduled 6 weeks to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 6 weeks for a 90-minute cut that I think is like 20 terabytes of footage. So I
Yeah.
spent the first 4 weeks watching everything.
Yeah.
So I hadn't even started to assemble anything.
Yeah.
And then it was maybe right at the point where I was starting to freak out and think like, I don't think I can do this. It all clicked, you know?
Yeah.
And then it was like, it just all came together.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Man, David Letterman was wrong about Balls University. Let me tell you.
Yeah, my alma mater.
Yeah, I'm kind of amazed by the there's a lot of good stuff that was not used.
Yeah.
It's interesting how you don't. There's things that are, I mean, from the perspective of gee, the art's good, or that seems kind of cool. That ends up not being used whatsoever, and the not using this good stuff ends up making the overall thing. Because I mean, I don't know, you got to choose stuff, but
Yeah.
it's fascinating.
Well, it's.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, like, Pat, like it must be difficult for you, Pat, to kind of let go of some footage. You know, I mean, I imagine a lot of film directors I've talked to, it's like you become married to your work, and the editor is like one of the most important, but also one of the most underrated or under. You know, like they don't get as much credit sometimes. You know, I feel like, and that's like. You're the one that has to take the baby and chop it up, basically, which is a really intense process for a filmmaker. Imagine, like, were you surprised at like the stuff that was left on the cutting room floor?
I mean,
also,
so when you gain like development in like the story elements, and the story gets richer and thicker, it's like a broth, and you cook it.
mm-hmm.
And-
like last night's curry.
Yeah, exactly. But then sometimes you just like lose things on the wayside.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there's a beautiful shot of the bus on the ferry going to like, Long Island that got clipped because it didn't work out in the flow. But whatever the voiceover was at the time, or there's certain shots that are just kind of you may be in love with, but then it's it's definitely up to the editor like to create that flow and not just like, oh, this beauty shot would be perfect here, but then within the storytelling aspect of it, it doesn't have a home right there, and it wouldn't make sense.
Did you have like an idea or vision of the film when you first started, and how does that compare to where you ended up with it?
I think it is exactly where I wanted it to be when I was staying at Mazel's Cinema.
Nice.
And checking out his life's work, and I figured it took those guys 40 years to make the gates with Christo, so only took us 8, but yeah, with the help of like a great team, we definitely landed right where I wanted to land when I first started filming in 2013.
That's awesome. And Jess, we were talking last night at dinner, like there's the way Patrick shot Jim, and how you mentioned something about he lets certain things linger almost, or lets it like kind of sit for a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like what was about his style that you think is going to really make it pop when people watch or stick out, do you think?
Well, I know for me, I was able to get to know Jim because Patrick did these long takes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really a commercial idea of we're going to get this shot, then that shot, then this shot. It's like we're just going to film for maybe 8 minutes, and it might not be anything, or it might. So I think I got to know Jim that way, and then I think when you watch the film, you get to know him as well. And that's a main component of the storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it was really specific choice by Patrick, how he filmed it.
Yeah. What were you like? Some of your influences? What were you thinking? Like who were inspiring you to do these types of shots?
I mean, it's sort of like that fly on the wall technique,
Yeah.
You just kind of kick back, stand back, but a little different because, when I was traveling with Albert Mazel's in France a few years before we had the screening in Harlem, we were on this big shoot with Brent Barber for the Bicycle Film Festival. And
shout out Brent.
Hey Brent. And then I talked to Albert and Jürgen Leth, the Danish documentary filmmaker, was out there too. And hey Patrick, what's your take on this? How are you going to approach, filming this documentary with all these different cameramen that we have? And I went into the whole like fly on the wall technique,
Mhm.
and he goes, "You know what? Flies aren't that smart. You gotta like step it up a bit." And I'm like, "Oh, that was a great heckle. Like I will step it up. No worries." So yeah, that was great.
So went more with the spider on the wall, maybe, you know?
Maybe it's the determined German on the wall.
Ah, the
Right.
determined German. I like that.
Right, that was Sean Barney Barron gave me that name.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good one for you too. That one should stick. The
Yeah.
determined German. Yeah.
Trev's is the determined German. You know, he gets shit done.
Jim, I want to get a little bit into like your history a little bit here, so our listeners can kind of know what they're getting into when they watch this. Where did you grow up surfing, and how did you get into surfing?
I caught my first wave at Cal's. I was my older brother Jeff and John, who in the story that became schizophrenic when I was 15. They took me surfing. I caught my first wave, rode it all the way to the beach. My brother fell off on his first wave. Meaning my closest in age brother.
Yeah.
So the whole sibling rivalry thing. So it's 8 boys and 1 girl.
I was about to say, one of 9 kids.
Yeah.
And where do you fall on that spectrum? You're towards the end there?
I'm number 8 of 9.
Wow.
My sister's number 7. She's 2-time world champion of body surfing. So
3-time.
Trish, right?
third time. She's just 2, I think.
Oh, okay.
She almost got a 3rd one recently, but
Tish the fish.
yeah,
Fish to fish.
just fish. So
Yeah, killer body surfer.
a lot of time in the ocean. She actually surfed that back then. She had the statue style. She'd stand up and not move, and then I never saw her surf again. She only body surfed the rest of her life.
But-
She's in the film.
She's in the film. It's interesting. Like being one of 9 kids, like my wife, she's one of 13 as well. So I know like I've got a little bit of an idea of that dynamic, but like how far of the years apart from the youngest to the oldest?
16 years, and the oldest is the farmer that's inspired, outstanding in the field.
This brother, this is was it your brother's name
Bill
was
Denevan.
Bill, right? Yeah. And
Great surfer.
great surfer.
Yeah, goofy foot.
Excellent. And you're a regular foot, so you guys get
Yes.
the split peaks, which is nice.
Yeah, he's the river mouth in 1982, the famous in Santa Cruz, the best wave in the history of Santa Cruz.
So he's the one that it seems like had a huge impact on you, correct? Like he's the organic farmer. He's the one that kind of has inspired a lot of your life, it seems. How was?
Yeah, I worked for him when I was 15 and
Mhm.
did some of the jobs up at the ranch. I think there's a bit of when you're in your 20s, you want to succeed and think of something cool and interesting, and you're working really hard and you're trying to surf as much as possible, and nothing's really clicking. For career-wise, it came to be that I had kind of like a strategy. It's like, hey, my brother's like, I can cook, but this is the guy with farming. He's the guy with organic farming.
Yeah.
And my connection with him and his connection with the wider world, it's like I want to bring this out to something that might be a business,
And that's what kind of
just
inspired
just
it.
ideas, looking for inspiration to do something cool back in the mid-90s.
Back in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because Bill was like one of the pioneers of organic gardening in California.
Yeah.
period.
Like that. I mean, he was like one of, you were saying, like one of the first or second to be like certified.
He's the
and-
longest running member of this California Certified Organic Farmers. So he was second longest, but now he's getting old enough that he's been around he's been around a while.
What
Yeah.
I mean, like that. I mean, being able to be on the farm, growing up, working on that, getting to see that, having your hands in it. What did that inspire you then to go into cooking and to learn how to be a chef and then your art? Like how?
I really was cooking because I could surf during the day. I mean, I was one of those people that had no other